Hello and welcome back to the J&Z podcast. And today we're talking about one of the best movies that's come out this year, and it's not even really that close. Maybe Spider-Verse was better, but either way, we're talking about Mission Impossible. Oh crap, what was the name of the movie?
Dead Reckoning
Dead
Part
Reckoning.
1.
And first things first, I am glad that they actually rounded off the movie despite it being a part 1. Loved Spider-Verse, as you remember, but my only complaint was that it ended very abruptly. This one has a pretty satisfying ending to it, despite being a part 1 and part 2. So I think they handled that part really well. Just wanted to clear the air because, all the movies nowadays, part 1 and part 2s, this one handled it pretty well, all things considered.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. The thing that I did not like about Spider-Verse, and I mean, you can go watch our review on that, is that it makes me worried about part 2. How is that going to happen now? This movie, at least, it still has things that are left, like the main story, as well as some character stuff, like with the main villain. But it leaves off on a satisfying ending while still making you excited about part 2. It doesn't slam cut to black like Spider-Verse does.
Yeah, and just the movie in general, it was way more fun. Like movies like Rogue Nation and Fallout, they were more serious oriented to my best of my memory, but I'm sure they're great movies. I just haven't seen them since I was maybe a bit younger and I couldn't appreciate them as well. But I've always liked Ghost Protocol, and this movie felt by far the most like that one, just with its kind of absurd areas. They're kind of goofy with it sometimes. It just had that feeling to it that I've always appreciated. That I feel like the other two more recent movies, I felt they were better in their own ways, but this one kind of brings it back to that kind of form. But Ghost Protocol has always been my favorite, and this one lives up to it, if not surpasses it.
Yeah, this one, I still love the first movie the best out of all the series. That is still like a perfect movie in my opinion. And Fallout, I was going into this and I'm like, all right, it's got to be better than Fallout. And it is, in my opinion.
It is.
But it's a little more slower paced than Fallout. If I did have to make one gripe about the movie is breakneck paced. But it's not Super Mario Brothers and it's not Mission Impossible Fallout. That's my only gripe about it. If it was a little more faster paced, I think it would have been perfect. That's my only gripe about it. Everything else in the movie was done fantastically from the beginning to the middle to the end. Everything was executed with perfection.
I never had a pacing problem. The movie's like 3 hours long and it didn't feel like it. So I'll give it that. Compared to the Barbie movie, which is like half an hour to an hour shorter, and I was already like, by the end of it, I was looking at my clock waiting for it to kind of wrap up here. I did not get that with this movie one bit.
I wasn't necessarily looking at my clock or anything, but I was just like, okay, some of these scenes, I understand we need them, but I don't know. There needed to be some tightening up on some stuff. But it could have been just because, I don't know, it just felt like it needed a bit more, it was just a bit more slower pace than other Mission Impossible movies.
I just don't get that. There was like one or two talking scenes, and they were brief. Other than that, he's like on a motorcycle in a car, or something or another. This movie. It was like Indiana Jones if everything that they tried worked, basically. And that's
Are
the
you
best way I can
finally
put it.
saying that Dial of Destiny is not that good?
I never said it was all that good. You just make it sound like it's the worst movie to grace the big screen, and it's
That's
not.
because it was.
It's just fine. But this movie takes everything that it tried to do, but made it actually work pretty amazing.
Yeah. There's only one thing I hated. Now the pacing, it's not even like that big of a problem. It's like a little qualm I had, not a big deal. The biggest thing I hated was a little fight in the middle, but we'll get to that later. Um,
How'd
so
you like the
basic.
beginning?
Oh, the beginning was fantastic with the submarine and how it's edited very frantically and excitingly. This AI rogue computer is testing the waters, so to speak. I guess I don't know. And it was just done very excitingly. Like the captain and all the people that are below him, they're like, "Oh, you need to fire the missiles," and then all of a sudden the missiles slowly come back, and it's like, "Oh no, their missiles are coming! You need to fire more!" And then they're trying to disrupt the button, and it ended up being nothing was there. So it was all done super super excitingly, and you're hooked.
I can't believe that both the Barbie movie and this one both basically had a Space Odyssey, or not Space Odyssey, but like 2001 A Space Odyssey movie like references, because the whole point of this one is the AI's gone rogue
Yeah.
and it turns on itself, and it's like I love the beginning scene because you have no idea what's going on, but the way that it all kind of pieces together, you slowly figure out what's happening, and then the twist gets involved, and I really did think that um, it was just a really good setup to a movie, and from there it just kind of went off. They immediately go to next scene, and it just doesn't stop until the end. And that's all you can really ask for a movie like this. You know, it's not the highest grade cinema that you're ever going to see. The lines can be a bit canned sometimes, especially with the government meeting. I don't know. I felt they were a little bit too self-aware, but it was still kind of funny. But
Yeah,
I
and
don't
I
know. What
mean,
do you think of that?
I thought everything was done super super good. Um, I seriously thought this was the second best Mission Impossible movie, and this is probably going to be my second favorite movie of the year. Um, it is so far at least, but I just thought everything was done with just perfection, and the way they handled the characters, the way they handled the way their story goes about, I thought was done very well. Um, I
The callbacks
loved,
worked well.
yes, especially with its cinematography. That's one thing I noticed. In the original Mission Impossible, it's the only one to do this, but for some reason, the camera loves to get up in the face of everybody for some reason. It does this weird angle shot. And in this one, they do the exact same thing.
They do, yeah.
And that was a really great way of bringing back some of the nostalgia uh, for this movie.
Yeah.
And I loved that there were kind of multiple villains in this movie. It wasn't just AI's gone rogue. Yes, that's the main concern, but there's actually like four villains in this movie, I want to say.
They all could potentially. You don't know their intentions, which works out really well. Um, and the movie itself does a great job kind of tying the whole franchise together. Like it's bringing back people from the original movies. It's bringing back
Hmm.
people from the past couple. They're all major players in this. It's not just some quick odd reference that they like to do in the other ones. They actually play pivotal roles, and they're able to use their past movie experiences to kind of set up like who's the one the White Widow, is that what they refer to her as, the
Yeah,
one
that's the
lady?
girl from Fallout.
Yeah, and she was able to kind of leverage that position that she was in that movie as to, having a good setup for her as a villain. You already knew kind of what she was about and how intimidating she could be. So it really played into its strengths, I feel, in that regard.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And there was a lot of shocking twists. I mean, this movie had kind of the best of everything. As I said, I love the first one the best, but this one kind of had the best stunts, in my opinion. It had the best music, in my opinion, and it had the best humor, in my opinion. Just, it was kind of like a best of Mission Impossible movie, in my opinion.
It was. And all will Tom Cruise is still kicking at 61. I mean,
No, he's 70 almost.
he's not almost, he's 61. But still, I
Okay.
wish I could be half as mobile as him at 61. Like he is booking it. He's driving that motorcycle. He's jumping off that cliff. He's paragliding. He's doing all this crazy stuff.
And it's awesome that it's him because you know it's him. Like
Yeah.
that's the cool thing. And all these things, all these stunts, something like Indiana Jones, you're just kind of sitting there and you're like, well, this is CGI or oh, this is a stunt man. And uh,
Yeah, because Harrison Ford's literally geriatric. Like what do you
it-
expect? You can only
no,
ask so much.
no. I get it, but like you can just kind of see like the background, like oh, this is all CGI. With Mission Impossible, it's cool because you know he really took a motorcycle off a cliff and paraglide,
Yeah.
or uh, they really crashed a train in real life off a cliff, or they blew up a bridge in real life, or they really drove little Mini Cooper throughout the streets of I don't know where they were exactly, but they did all this stuff in real life, and that elevates the story, in my opinion. It's a lot like Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick was so cool as well, because you knew these actors were actually doing these stunts themselves, and they were in the planes. So it's a lot like this, where it just elevates the story and the movie as a whole.
Yeah, I know. I've always appreciated what a lot of Tom Cruise movies do in that regard because like you watch even especially like a modern day Marvel movie and you're just watching like two CGI monsters fight each other and it's not like they do anything cool with the CGI. They just like try to make them look as human as possible while still being CGI, so it's just kind of boring and it looks bad. That you know that it's on one hand it looks realistic because it actually happened and it just adds to the appreciation of the overall experience because even if it takes you out of the movie, it's for a really good reason.
Yeah, and there was not a single thing that took me out of this movie. Well, okay, there was one scene. Um, so I guess the scene that I have the biggest qualms about, and even then it's not the biggest deal, but it's the stupid sword and knife fight that happens right in the middle of the movie.
What's
Uh,
wrong with it?
are you kidding me? There's no way a guy can parry a sword with a little dagger. That's dumb.
He
It's
drives a
cool he shot.
motorcycle off of a mountain and paraglides onto a moving train. But the
No,
parry with the dagger, real quick, is where it gets you.
yeah, because it's kind of silly. It's like she could have just with one foul swoop just chopped him and got him real quick. I don't know. There's just that one scene.
I
If he
guess.
had a sword, it'd be a little different. But
I mean, the sword goes away very quickly in that one. Like, they immediately gets knocked out of her hand. I don't
yeah,
think it
and I
was
mean,
all that crazy of a scene.
yeah, and I mean, I have no problem with how it was shot or executed. It was exciting. It's just like there's that little thing in the back of my head where it's like this wouldn't happen in real life.
Right. No, I get that. But in general, I have a way easier time suspending disbelief for the Mission Impossible movies. They just kind of command that kind of respect and they have a reputation that kind of lets you go into it knowing you're going to have a good time.
Hmm.
Whereas other movies have to kind of prove it, so you're not in as a analytical a mode, I feel, going into this one as you might just some brand new IP or some remake or part 2 or something, but
Yeah, the
um
minute the Mission Impossible logo pops up and it's like Dead Reckoning Part 1 and the music in the background is
pops up like
blaring.
20 minutes in the movie, but
Yeah, that was surprising. I thought they weren't even going to do it because throughout the entire series, that's the thing. It does the Mission Impossible and it shows like scenes throughout the movie and it goes dun 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 dun. And
they brought back that early 2000s, splash card of all the actors' names and all that in the beginning. Like they never do that. I like that they stuck to their roots with that one. It was kind of refreshing to see when those kind of movies were all the rage.
well, that's something that all the Mission Impossible movies have done. And I was kind of surprised it was so late in the movie. I was just like, are they not going to do what they usually do? And then, it finally does it. But it was just kind of surprising how late in the movie it was till they actually had the title logo pop up.
It would be hilarious if they didn't have time for it, but
Yeah, I mean, it's a 3-hour movie.
I know, but they packed it so well. I was like, I wouldn't even blame them. I was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing an extra like 5 minutes of something, just sprinkle it in there.
Yeah.
But um, overall, they manage. I don't even know exactly what it is about Mission Impossible movies, but when I see a lot of chase scenes in other movies, they're kind of drawn out, kind of like not all that interesting. But the way they either film it or the way they just set design, all of it kind of comes together and it makes the chases feel genuinely interesting. Like you do not know what's going to happen next, and you know that there might actually be consequences if they don't. Whereas I swear they had the exact same chase scene in Indiana Jones with the little tiny car. The reason that this one worked and the other one didn't, I don't even know.
It was edited better and it was a lot more exciting. The
Yeah,
music was a lot better. Um, and it just kept going too.
I swear they
Indiana
told the
Jones
same joke though about the little
Indiana
car driving
Jones went
around.
on for a little too long. Like it was like, all right, but at the same time, like that was that was part of the plot and everything with Indiana Jones. That was the main issue with. Mission Impossible, it kept elevating the stakes as well. So like, oh, they're in a really nice car. Oh no, those car doors have smashed off. Now we got to get another car.
Oh, and
What's
they're
this car?
handcuffed together, which helps, like kind of in an awkward way.
Yeah, that was cool too. I looked it up and he really did that stunt too. That's a real stunt. He really had his arm handcuffed to her and drove with one hand all of those wacky movements with the Mini Cooper.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is
I
so
died
cool.
laughing when he started up the Mini Cooper and it had like a V8 engine in it. It was like I was like, "Okay, that's cool."
I don't know. It just has a way about it. Like, I think the airport chase scene would be way too long in any other movie but this one. But the whole fake out part that they implemented with the AI, like watching both him and the people chasing him get tricked all the time because of the AI and not knowing what they're looking for. It just leads. I think the whole movie really benefits from not knowing what's real and what's not. That whole
Mhm.
aspect really brings it together, and it adds a different. You always kind of get this uneasy feeling, like you never know who to trust, and you get the feeling that they have no idea either. So that was pretty cool. I like the suspense.
Yeah, and I like the mystery of the entire movie too. I like the fact that they don't they explain the AI in the beginning, but they don't explain it all the way. So at least throughout the entire movie, you're still kind of wondering with the characters, even though it's explained, you're still like, all right, what do the keys actually open? What do
Well,
the
I wouldn't say that, but
well, I'm just saying, like, you're still like, even though it's explained, because the characters are still like constantly wondering, like, what do the keys do? You're with them for the journey. You're like, okay, yeah, I want to see what the keys do.
mhm. Yeah, no, and that
Um,
was an important part to lay out because if if they knew what the keys did, they would have no need for a part two.
mhm.
But that's kind of
Yeah.
the. I was not. Oh, that's the nice thing. I'm not trying to get too far ahead, but they actively subverted our expectations because we knew that it was a part one. We expected at the end when he ended up with the key, for instance, right at the end, we thought he got away with it. They knew that we knew it was a part one. So when it turns out that they actually did have the key, for instance, they were able to kind of, catch us off guard there.
Mhm.
The whole movie was kind of like that. I liked um just
Yeah,
the way
it's
they.
it's
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I'm with you. Like the twists in this movie were so good. Like when Carrie Elwes's character is there and he's like all of a sudden he's an evil guy. Um
Mm-hmm.
or with the other guy, you kind of don't know if he's good, but you kind of don't know if he's bad yet. Um, and yeah, with the whole switcheroo thing, I love the twists in this.
Even the lady that he meets at the airport that ends up joining him, she betrayed him like multiple times. So
Hmm.
you never knew. Like as soon as you felt like she was like kind of on board, she'd swap the things back, or she'd leave him in the subway to die in front of a subway car. All
Yeah,
that stuff.
Y-
Um,
I'm gonna say something controversial.
yeah.
I think this has one of the most exciting ends to a movie of all time, and I will put this up there with Speed Racer as how much I love this ending. I love it when the train starts to the end of the movie. I just think everything about this like 30 minutes is so perfectly done, from him jumping off the cliff and like trying to catch the train to him blasting through the doors, the whole switcheroo thing with the girl's mask and uh, the real White Widow, um, then the battle on the train to him jumping off the train. I just think everything with this was so exciting. Even the second time I watched it, I'm like, man, this is great.
Yeah, they managed. I mean, train fight scenes always kind of feel a little played out just in the back of your mind, but this really wasn't too bad. And the only other part of note for me that could have been a little long was just how many cars they had to climb out of at the end.
That was
I
awesome.
think if they added one more car, it would have been a bit too much. But I think they kind of teetered that line pretty well.
I was
of
getting
adding
Uncharted 2
suspense to
vibes. I
it
don't know
being.
about you.
It's like, are they gonna go through the whole church train before they actually get out? Like that's just kind of.
It was exciting. Like it was just like, oh man, like the train falls off and it's like they got a sigh of relief. They can finally take a break, and then all of a sudden the next car starts going, and then the next car, and then the
Yeah.
next one, and then the next one after that, and it was just exciting. Like you just want to see what happens next, and I was getting Uncharted 2 vibes. I loved it. I was like, this is what the Uncharted movie should have been like.
Yeah, I didn't even see the Uncharted movie, but I knew that I had a feeling that this kind of reminded me of that and what it probably should have been,
Yeah.
but it never could have been. So I don't know. But overall, I'm sure we're missing a bunch of stuff even, but it just kind of is a testament to how much stuff they managed to cram into the 3 hours without it feeling either bloated or like it went on for too long. Like that's just
hmm
there is a very much so a skill to that so many movies just do not get right. And um I don't know, this is just it's just a lovely movie to watch. It's just so much fun all the time and it does not overstay its welcome. So,
Yeah. I mean, I'm very happy with this movie. This was a easy 10 out of 10 almost. I'm going to say it right then and there. I think this is his second best Mission Impossible movie. That's just personal preference cuz I love the first one so much, but I love this. There was no disappointment walking out of this movie.
yeah, I really don't know if I prefer this one or Spider-Verse more. I love both of the movies. The ending really goes against Spider-Verse, unfortunately.
I prefer this one before Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse I loved, but this one was the better part 1, where I
I
have confidence in part 2.
I have confidence in both movies, don't get me wrong. They're
I
both going to
don't
be
with
great.
Spider-Verse still.
What I still don't see what makes you think that it's
Just the way it ended.
I don't- I still
And the
think that
way
that's
they
the
set
best
it
part
up.
of what's going to make it a good part 2 though is this movie is going to have to kind of rekindle things. It ended on a very much so on the hero's side of play. This whole second Spider-Verse movie has the setup. It's all there. It's just waiting to kick off. That movie can be all
I don't
crazy
know.
twists, all this stuff.
I've got a bad feeling about that second part. I really do, and I don't know what it is. It's a gut feeling, and I don't know. With this one, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for part 2. I'm excited. With Spider-Verse part 2, it's like
I don't trust your gut feeling, not gonna lie. They have
I
shown
don't
absolutely
know.
nothing but pure talent in making those
No,
movies.
and I know it's like for Into the Spider-Verse 2, walking into that movie, I was kind of nervous, and then it ended up breaking all of my expectations. I'm going to
Right.
do the same thing for the next one. I'm just going to go in with no expectations and low expectations, and you know what? It might break all of that and be one of the best cartoons ever made. If so, great, but I just am not I don't know, I have a bad feeling about that movie. And then Mission Impossible, I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, yeah, let's go next year. Woo.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see how those writer strikes kind of pan out. But I just know there've been some delays and such, so we'll see what's going on with that. But in the meantime, I still think cinema in general is looking at a pretty good shape right now. All
Mm,
things, some things considered. Like there hasn't been as many like actually awful movies. Like I'm sure if you look at last year's catalog of what we've reviewed, um,
this
I
whole
didn't like
year
a
has
lot of
been
them
nothing but trash. Same thing with like
this
last
year.
year and the year before. Yeah, I've seen like close to 30 movies in theaters this year, and
Well, I don't go watch the bad ones, but there was almost nothing to watch for the past couple.
probably only 6 movies I can recommend. Even on streaming, it's been kind of nothing.
No, I agree. There's
There's
not
like
much to
six.
stream, but
There's like 6 good movies that came out this year: Mario, Guardians, Spider Verse, Mission Impossible, and um, there's one more probably thrown in there somewhere. But I don't know.
that's
Those
a
are the
lot
only
of
ones.
movies, though. Zeth, name one good movie that came out last year.
I don't know. I'd have to look at a list of movies that came out last year.
Exactly. I could name
That's
you a
true.
movie from
Yeah.
2018, Spider Verse. That's one. That's more than what the past couple years have got going. So
2018, yeah. 2019, I mean, that was a pretty good year. It was just I think we're just finally coming to an end of like the stupid COVID excuses, because Mission Impossible was one of them that got severely delayed, and the expenses for this movie shot up because of COVID. But yeah, I'm with you with those writer strikes, and now the actors strikes going on at the same time. So I don't know. Hopefully it affects movies in a good way, because this year has just been kind of just blah.
I've honestly enjoyed myself a lot this year with movies, but at the same time, I have a feeling that there's not much coming out later this year that I'm all that excited for. So it was a good run while it lasted, but
Yeah. Everything's done. I think I'm gonna go see Ninja Turtles Wednesday.
oh yeah, I'll see
I'm
about
gonna go see it just because my tickets expire. I'm done for the rest of the year
that.
on my subscription service.
Well, hey,
But
let me know if that one's good.
yeah, we could do it. But we have in September, the one I want to do is The Creator. That we're gonna see in the theaters.
That movie's gonna bomb. I cannot wait to see it.
I don't know. It's a cheap budget for an original sci-fi project.
That always ends well. All right. Either way,
65.
that was a sweet movie. Not talking about 65 here, but I think we all know that. But yeah, in general, very pleased. Any last thoughts, Seth?
No, just an amazing movie. Mission Impossible. Go see it. Tom Cruise, all that good stuff.
All right, man. You guys have a good rest of your night then. See ya.